chapter of the National Productivity and Organizing Professionals, known as NAPO. NAPO is a nonprofit professional association whose members include organizing consultants, speakers, trainers, authors, and manufacturers of organizing products. Founded in 1985, it is the largest national association of and for organizers with over 4,000 members throughout the world. NAPO's mission is to develop, lead, and promote professional organizers in the organizing industry. NAPO Pittsburgh started out with a handful of professional organizers known as the Pittsburgh Professional Organizers, PPO, and some of us remember that. We've been around a while, and it began to meet in June of 2000. The group grew through the years and eventually applied for and obtained chapter status within NAPO in April of 2005. From 2000 until now, the professional organizing industry has grown 1,000% in the Pittsburgh region. So this is an Ask the Organizer panel, and what I'm going to do is introduce our 4 panelists, and we will have questions from anybody on Zoom or Faye out here. And if you guys don't have a question, we'll probably talk about something, because organizing is a vast, all kinds of different services. So there's a lot of different kinds of services within the organizing industry. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Again, I'm Vicki DeLacqua. I am a master trainer with ICD, which is the Institute of Challenging Disorganization. I'm a certified professional organizer in chronic disorganization and a certified virtual professional organizer. And I own Organization Rules, which provides compassionate organizing for every stage of your life since 2002. I specialize in working with those challenged by chronic disorganization, difficult situations such as divorce, death of a partner, parent, or spouse, illnesses such as depression, fibromyalgia, and more that compound issues with disorganization. Also applying to supporting issues. I provide my services currently, and changed about a year ago with the pandemic, to virtual organizing, and I also facilitate a clutter support group. I'm also the author of this book, Don't Toss My Memories in the Trash, a step-by-step guide to helping seniors downsize, organize, and move. And I know it's in your library, so check it out if you want to, or find it wherever. Also, I have another book coming out with this little person. Yeah, come on in. Her name's Ophelia. It's a children's book on organizing. It's called Ophelia, Let's Get Organized. Maybe about 2 weeks it should be out, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm married, and I have 7 grandchildren and counting. So that's me. So let's see who we have first. We have Lynn first. So you're probably on the bottom sheet. Yep, you are. Of course you are. Let's see. Okay, so Lynn Staub, right here, has been providing simple solutions through full-service professional organizing for over 18 years. Starting as an interior designer over 25 years ago, Lynn has been able to embody the practice of minimalism, space assessment, and client style to help individuals be intentional about sustainable living and thinking. To her, a client's most overwhelming project proves to be both motivating and inspiring to conquer. Lynn believes each person is unique in both thought and organizational style. She creates custom drafts of a client's end goal and process to get there. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom trying to organize a never-ending mountain of toys, or a small business wanting to evaluate processes and development systems to be able to provide effective services, My Organized Spaces can help. On the other side of the 2020 pandemic, My Organized Spaces LLC now offers virtual organizing via Zoom. As the world has shifted to more remote work, virtual organized, virtual, or homeschooling, and many other abrupt reforms, Lynn can transform your space to fit your situational need. Okay, and next we have Mandy Thomas right here. Okay, Mandy owns Rethink Organization LLC. She opened her business in November of 2020, and she has been organizing all her life. She focuses on 2 main areas: whole house residential organizing, mainly with overwhelmed moms, and developing her photo organizing business. She's comfortable with both physical and digital organization and technology. She loves all kinds of organizing. something also about Mandy is this is a second career for her. She has a geology degree and has spent 20 years in the energy industry. The shift to professional organizing is a passion project coming out of COVID pandemic time. Life is too short to not do something you absolutely love. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's so true. Okay, here is. I'm trying to get my papers organized here. They're not. So, professional organizing, definitely gonna have trouble with that too. And they say they don't believe that. Joe Yesko, number 3 here on our panel, is a professional organizer and founder of Discover Organizing Inc., a firm based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She started her company in 2003 and has a team of professionals that help people to downsize and transition, organize their homes and photo collections, and specializes in working with those with chronic disorganization and who are living with hoarding disorder. Her first book, I'm Right Here, 10 Ways to Get Help for Hoarding and Chronic Disorganization, was published in June of 2021 and is focused on shining the light on several methods for accessing the right resources for specific challenges. Her second book, Chronological Order, The Fine Print for a Large Life, co-authored with Lorraine Kyle, was published in December of 2021 and is a decade-by-decade life organizing book. Prior to running her business, Jill had a career in social work and human resources in a psychiatric hospital. She is a mother of 2 brilliant children, Nathan, her company's CIO, which stands for, thank you, Chief Information Officer. You know, I'm not good with acronyms, so that's good. And Mary, a geoscientist. She lives with the love of her life in Pittsburgh and is addicted to surfing, snowboarding, and paddleboarding. So next we have on the end here, and not released, is Dorothy. Dorothy Clear. She is a certified professional organizer, certified virtual professional organizer, and a coach. She owns Clear Organization and has been in business for 10 years. She helps people restore order and restore joy to their businesses, homes, and lives. This is done through what works best for the client, whether it's hands-on organizing, virtual organizing, or integrated coaching skills. Because of her own life experiences, she works best with people who have grief, anxiety, depression, or some other brain-based condition that requires exceptional empathy and understanding. So that is our panel. A couple of things that I want to mention. Most people usually start out with 2 questions. One is, gee, how much do you charge? Well, we can't really say that because of antitrust laws of NAPO. So what I can tell you in the Pittsburgh area, it's a range. It could be an hourly range or it could be a project range. And I would say it's like $40 to $150 an hour. And that depends on level of experience, education, could be 2 organizers, you know, could be all kinds of different things. But that just gives you a range in the Pittsburgh area because, you know, where you live has a lot to do with it. If you're in Los Angeles, it's going to be a different rate, or Chicago. So, or New York. So that's about the range for the Pittsburgh area. The other question we get is, how long do I keep my taxes? Everything, you know, from taxes to how long do I keep my bank statements? Well, we really can't say that for sure. And I think if you ask an accountant, this is what they'll say, because I've heard it for years, forever, 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, they can't really tell you. So what we suggest is, since we are, none of us that I know of are certified tax accountants or a tax attorney, go to irs.gov and they will give you an idea of what to do. Of course, they're, you know, kind of clear as mud too. They don't want to commit either. So, you know, part of it is comfort level, but we can't really tell you how long to keep your records. So just so you know, those are 2 questions. Always like the first 2 questions. So I just thought I'll just answer that right now. Okay, so we are going to answer any questions you have, whatever it's on organizing or whatever, any kind of question. So either via Zoom, the people on Zoom, if they have a question, or you too, if you have a question, be happy to answer.
Anything? I'm
going to let you have the microphone.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I love to organize, so I'm really here just to meet all of you and learn how you got into this business, what drew you to it, what do you like about it, what don't you like. I have a job right now that I love, But I'm thinking like next chapter, this might be, so that's really why I'm here.
Okay, great reason I got it.
You
Yeah.
guys all are probably a million times better than me, but I think I'm
No,
pretty good.
certainly, no. Maybe we'll each answer it. So I grew up moving a lot. I moved a lot, and my parents were not organized people at all. My dad always had that desk with these piles of paper, and he would just be like, so out of that chaos I lived with, I became organized. I helped me. I would ask my parents, like, can I unpack the moving boxes? And they'd be like, why? Just leave, we'll move next time. I used to go in my brother's rooms and I would be like, let me organize those G.I. Joes. And they'd be like, get out of here. So I just kind of naturally started out of chaos. And then it just became, I liked it. And then I have a social service and nursing background. And so those skills do help in this world, plus the emotional part of working with people, because organizing is a lot of emotional work in addition to physical work, and the physical art of organizing and things like that. But yeah, that's how I started, and I love organizing. I always have. So some people have it, some people out of need. It just kind of depends. But that's my story, so I'll let Lynn go next. How did I get started?
I too, as a child, loved to sit in my room and just reorganize all my toys. But my background was in interior design, and I did a lot of space planning, and I found space planning to be my forte. And I definitely had a gift in doing it. I could see space and see it in order. And so I just absolutely loved space planning as part of my design. I did corporate commercial space planning for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. When I got to the point where I just wanted to start my own business and do something, I decided to jump out into the residential field. And really, because of all the organizing that I did, even through corporate America, everyone kept saying, why don't you start your own business? Like if they had to put a word across my forehead, they would say, you're so organized. So I just developed a business plan and just started to dive into it and just, started to do it because it's something you have a passion for. At least most organizers have a passion to do it, meaning like it's really not work. And those of us who probably do this, we can do it all day long, all the time. And it's, at least for me, that's kind of what it works for me. I never get tired of doing it. It's almost like therapy for me. That's how much I love doing
I
it.
feel the same way.
Yeah, it's like therapy
If I
to me.
spend a Saturday organizing something, I feel light and happy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I'm not annoyed with other people's clutter as long as I can get in there and clean it up.
It's not, yeah.
Can't live in it. I can't live in my own clutter because I'm more of a minimalist, but I love to I get very excited when I see clutter, like, can I help? So it's kind of a
I'm gonna add one
non-judgmental.
more thing that's gonna make you feel better before we go on to Mandy. When I also started to, I was gonna start in 99, I think, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. I was working in social services, making $9.50 an hour, and I was like, wow, do I have it made? Anyway, I was on my way to work in Millvale one day, and I saw a billboard, and it was the founder of NAPO Pittsburgh, Patty Kramer, and she said, got clutter? And I thought, if that chick can do it, so can I. So there you go.
Yeah, so all four of these ladies have been at this obviously much longer than I have since I started in 2020, but the little blurb that she gave, I said, I've organized my whole life. I was the girl that came over at slumber parties and organized her friends' dresser drawers, and their mothers loved to have me over, right? I always had a clean dorm room. I always did it. I actually bought my first How to Be a Professional Organizer book when I was on maternity leave with my son, who's now 16. So this has been a long time dream, but I went ahead and got a degree in science. I did geology. I worked in corporate all this time, but even from that, I started off 6 months processing geophysical data. And then I took a job in the tape copy area because I could organize the tapes. Nobody else wanted to put the barcodes on things. And then I worked out the business system processes to streamline the efficiency of the entire program and stuff. So that was when I was 22, and I worked in file rooms and organizing. I ended up getting a master's degree in project management because I just love organizing, right? But coming out of COVID 2020, we were all stuck at home for so long. And I thought, life is way too short to spend time doing anything that I don't absolutely love. So if your vocation should be the intersection of what you're good at and what you're passionate about, this is my dream job, right? This is what I do. And so I am not drawn to the entrepreneurship aspect. This is very much a business that's individuals running their own businesses, but that's why I joined NAPO, because I need the community of being able to talk to other people and bounce ideas, and not just how to run business things, but learning new skills. And, you know, so the community aspect of NAPO is fantastic for that. But I just love working with my clients. And like Lynn said, I'm a judgment-free zone, right? People bring you in. It's a very emotional business, right? I'm also a person of faith. And I really wanted to do something that could actively be helping people. And when people invite you into their home or into their mess, they are so vulnerable that I'm honored that they are inviting me to come in and look in their closets and things. And so I absolutely cannot go in and say, oh, well, I see why you hired me. You know, like it's just such an honor to be there. So I love what I do, and I don't feel like I'm working when I do it. So I love it.
When you say that you don't like the entrepreneurial side of it, that's kind of what I'm afraid of. Too.
Yeah.
I don't have that spirit. I don't believe I do. I'm in corporate right now, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that structure. So do you feel like so COVID helped you make that leap?
Yeah.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
And
Well,
are you
yeah,
still
the
adjusting to that?
Yeah, I think it's a process. I think I spent a lot of years, I was in sales selling, you know, excuse me, somebody else's widgets. Now I have to, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna add too, we've all been through where I had an employee in the special sector. I knew nothing about anything. Zero social services and nursing. But we've all kind of learned and grown and through it. But Jill especially, because Jill has employees. And I knew Jill when she came with her short little hair. Remember when she said that short hair? so, you know, well, go ahead, Mandy, if you're ready that again, okay?
I'm sorry, yeah, I just, that fall, I took a class at CCAC on entrepreneurship and learned how it works. I don't need a whole certificate. I just needed, where do I even start? And it was an excellent class. It was all online at the time. I don't know what's going on.
I think allergies are getting everything.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
These are fake.
So I think I just keep telling myself it's what I really want to do. And luckily, I mean, I see other people I think are probably hustling harder. I'm in a fortunate position that I'm not paying the mortgage with my income. So I really, I should push myself more, but that's why I bring myself out to these things, right? To remind myself, this is the work I do, right? This is helping people, and the world needs this. So if you have a passion for it, just learn the skills and ask questions. These guys all help. And I think they'd be very happy to help you too. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, that's like coughing. All right. I'm Jill Yesko. Scalable Organizing is my company. I was not a neat kid. I was an obedient kid. That makes sense. My parents would have had a very, very clean and orderly home. My mother does have OCD on the most extreme side of organization. And it is a mental illness. OCD isn't, necessarily a joke or basically you're so OCD to denote some type of anal retentativeness or type A behavior. And that's not necessarily the truth. I'm sure things can coexist with OCD, but my mom definitely, you know, struggles with that to this day. And so, like I said, not a neat kid, very obedient. So I kept my room clean because that was the rule. I didn't really see the value of it as a child. I didn't get it until I had kids of my own, and you had to pack a diaper bag and get out of the house, which took me 2 hours the first time I did it with a newborn. And I thought, oh my God. So my kids taught me how to be organized. And then I went and I was a social worker and I was an HR director at a hospital, and marrying those two, going to home visits, that got me really comfortable in people's homes. A, B, an HR director, it's all clerical. I don't care what anybody says. It's not, hi, welcome to so-and-so. Do you want an interview and a job? It's not that. That's like 10% of HR. So I learned how to manage a lot of paper and information in that job. And that's what actually brought me. I saw Patty's billboard that said, say bye-bye to clutter, and I called her up. I almost wrecked the car on Banksville Road in the South Hills. And I said, do you hire? Can you hire me? I want to be an organizer. Just like you, please can you hire me? She goes, no, I don't have employees. You sound nice and a little weird, but why don't you come to our meeting? And that's where I met Vicky and Lynn. And I thought I had to have, you know, short hair, like a professional organizer on the billboard, which was Patty. It's like, it was really funny. But long story short is I have learned to organize authentically for myself. But I do have about 12 employees, and we work with photos, we work with people with hoarding disorder, we work with chronic disorganization. We do a lot of downsizing. That's probably about half of our revenue. There's a lot of downsizing. There's a lot of seniors in Pittsburgh. And the only advice I'll give you before I pass the mic is to go to the Small Business Development Center at Duquesne or at the University of Pittsburgh. They have excellent, excellent programs, and they are free. Free. They're all run through a grant program. And you do have to go to a 2 to 3 hour workshop first and go to get the basics. And then you get assigned to a counselor that will, like a coach that works with you out of the SBDC. And that person will be assigned to you from now until forever. And they help you do every bit of navigation and support that you need, from taxes to just figuring stuff out. How you want to form, so partnership, corporation, how you want to do it. They'll help you. They're awesome.
I'm sorry, you say the name of that program.
It's the Small Business Development Center, also known as the SBDC, and it's at Duquesne, and it's at the University of Pittsburgh,
Thank you.
and they're awesome.
I did that as well. I did that as well.
Hi, I'm Dorothy. I was 49 years old and I was let go from my corporate position. I was also in HR. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do now? I don't think I have another corporate job search in me. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always done fundraising. And I have a strong faith also, and I prayed and meditated on it a lot, like, show me what my next thing will be. I thought this might be my last opportunity to do something on my own. And about 7 months later, a friend asked me to help her declutter her house. She had had a cleaning person coming in, but that person had to go on maternity leave. So she asked me, would I help her? She said, we're not getting anything organized. I'm like, oh, that sounds really neat. I would love to help you with that, you know? And this light bulb went off over my head, like, can I make a living at this? And so I started doing some research, and I found the National Association of Professional Organizers. That's what it was called then. It's now changed its name to the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. So I joined that. I had some business cards made. I started working with this one client, and I started reading some organizing books. And my local PA Career Center was holding a how to start your own business workshop. And it was like 10 weeks long. So I started going through that too. And I just had a business up and running in 3 months because I was so passionate about what I was doing. I loved it. And as I read the organizing books, I'm like, oh, I'm learning some things, but I'm doing some things right also. So I knew I was on the right track. And being a NAPO member gave me, you know,
Support, credibility.
credibility, gave me credibility. I didn't get the support until I joined the Pittsburgh chapter, which was a couple months later. Because when you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of spendable money, so I had to wait a few months, but I did go away to conference and I met the entire Pittsburgh chapter at conference and they said, oh, you gotta come to a chapter meeting. So this all happened like between the summer of 2011 and the spring of 2012. So I had my business, I've been in business 10 years, it'll be 11 years in September. And yeah, it was kind of hard starting out and I didn't have a lot of support from my husband. He's like, you want to do what? And but I got all that support by going to the Pittsburgh NAPO meetings. And we also provide education too. We have to keep up our certification once we get it. So we have continuing education units. So every month at our monthly meeting, we have a presentation which allows us to learn and grow. And I've just loved being my own boss for the past 10 years. I don't think I could go back to having a 9-to-5 job, even if I had to.
Sorry.
That's great. Yeah, so yeah, come to one of our meetings, you'll have a good time. And it is good, because, yeah, like everybody just said, it's a lot of
Our next
fun.
meeting's next Thursday.
That's right, next Thursday,
Where do you meet?
we meet Dorothy, what's the
Christian.
It's called Northland
Northland
Church.
Christian
Northland
Church.
Christian Community
Yeah, if you go on our website,
on Deer Run Road.
yeah, NAPO Pittsburgh is it .org? It's .org. You will see the information and you can come as a guest.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
Join us.
Yeah, join us. That would be fun. So does any, on Zoom or YouTube, do you have any questions you can think of? You must have a dying question about something.
I just need to get motivated.
Okay.
So
How to get motivated to
how to
start
get
working.
motivated to organize. I used to be organized and then stuff happened.
Okay. Okay. So you want tips on how to get motivated so
Right.
that you can get organized, but you used to be organized and then not so much as anymore. Okay. So
Life happened.
life happens. Oh, here we go. Here's Joe. Go this way.
Well, I just gave a talk on, this is so near and dear to me because I think what we do is we organize amongst our archives. Like we're living in our archives instead of like, where am I now and where do I want to go? And you still have time. And I really would love it if you could kind of draw a picture or write in a journal of what you want your life to look like. And that is the motivation to then build the goals towards. So for me, I used to have all of these hobbies that I did, and you know, I loved being a mom more than any. I still love being a mom. They're still my kids, but they don't need me anymore. And I don't have grandkids yet. Not like Vicky. She's got like a farm of grandchildren. But I think just kind of defining who are you, and thanks, Vicky. Just, you know, thinking about what you want, like to paint that picture, and I know what I want, and none of that involves stuff. And I want it to be easy to pay bills. I want it to be easy to manage stuff. So I moved some stuff into digital, some stuff not. And my point is that defining and painting that picture of what it's going to be. And then you start looking around and go, wow, none of this stuff complements that goal. None of this stuff, and Peter Walsh said it at a conference, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He said, are the best years of your life behind you or are they in front of you? And it always stuck with me and it sticks with my clients because, when we live in our archives, like I say, instead of living in, what we want our house to feel like and look like and to create our own happy place, if you will. Sounds a little contrite, I realize, but if you can create that scene, even if you just close your eyes and you're meditating and you think, what do I want my house to feel like? What do I want it to look like? Do I want to live in this house? Is this house a place for me right now? Can I be living my best life somewhere else? That might be the choice. And that's what we when we come in to do an initial consultation, we sit with you and talk about that. And we don't just come in and bring bins and baskets and a bunch of notebooks and say, okay, we're going to change your life. Let's start throwing everything away out of your basement. That's not what we do. We really make that connection with you to say, what hurts kind of thing. What hurts in your house, what hurts here, and what's kind of dragging you down in your brain, what's weighing you down, how can we release it? And so many times we just listen and we're there for you. I know every single woman at this table and standing up has brought many tissues and has, when before COVID, we were hugging a lot more. But we get it. We get pain, we get loss, we understand. I personally understand divorce and I've had lots of stuff happen. Lots of painful things happen, and we relate to our clients on many levels. That's really important to know is that we get it, whatever it is, at our ages. I think we understand.
I want to add something. Motivation comes from two places, internally and externally. You can be motivated by somebody threatening you with divorce. Okay, that's a good motivator. You can motivate yourself by some of the things that Joe said, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind, when I pass, and are my kids going to have to do all this? So that might be an internal motivation. And then we're motivated by two things. We either want to avoid pain or we want the reward at the end. So those are a couple of things that you might want to think about.
Anybody else want to add to that? I think that's good. Okay. Another question?
We have one.
Oh, okay.
From the chat.
Oh, great.
That I'm sure you're expecting, and it's the cost question. So what's the average cost someone should?
Well, in the Pittsburgh area, I would say the average wage, if it's hourly, a lot of organizers charge by the hour, some do it by the session, which might be 3 or 4 hours, maybe longer, maybe even 2 hours. Virtual organizing usually is about an hour, sometimes a little longer. And I would say in the Pittsburgh area, it's between $40 and $150 an hour. And that all depends on many factors: experience of the organizer, education and credentials of the organizer, and there might be 2 organizers working. So that could make the price go, of course, higher because then, of course, you get more done with 2 people helping you too. So I would say that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing too, when you're searching for a professional organizer, certainly look at NAPO Pittsburgh. And, and nothing wrong with people that are not part of NAPO Pittsburgh, but I have to tell you, there's a criteria, there's a professionalism, there's education, ethics. Yes, you can become not a member if you are not behaving properly. It's a good thing, because I remember a long time ago, I went to a person's home who had a hoarding issue, and it was her brother who wanted to hire someone to help her. And I remember I told him my rate, and he said, oh, that's just too much money. And he said, don't you know, I don't even know the first name, but I'm going to make this up because it was another name that I was like, ooh, and it was like Tiffany. And I said, Tiffany, ooh, there goes my phone. And she said, yeah, I got her on Craigslist. She's about $5 an hour. And I said, well, you can hire Tiffany, but you may not get what you want. Because there was a lot of course, it doesn't do with stuff, it has to do with emotions. It's emotions with most things and with all things. So I thought, I wonder how Tiffany did with this client, because I had a feeling not so great. So I would definitely suggest looking at NAPO Pittsburgh. And if you need somebody outside of it, NAPO National, or ask somebody at NAPO Pittsburgh and they can refer you, because we all know people from around the world. Because we definitely know they're everywhere, so. Okay, another question on Zoom?
Yes, so that actually leads nicely, your story, into what is your advice if someone is trying to help a loved one get organized or kind of getting their house together? Who would like that one? Okay.
So these ladies might have a different explanation, right? But to me, that when I'm working with my clients and they are worrying about another family member, the simplest way is to organize yourself first, right? So a lot of times, I think she mentioned I've kind of developed a specialty in working with moms that feel like they're completely overwhelmed by their entire household. And they know they want the kids to get organized, and the kitchen's a mess, and the garage is a mess, and the husband's office is a mess. And I like to talk with them about what their goals are and why they called me. But oftentimes when they start, I'm working with a woman now who started caring for herself first. Like we started building what I called a sanctuary in her master bedroom area that could be hers. And by carving out that space in her house and organizing that for herself, and then we slowly started moving outward in the house. And now we've worked our way through the kitchen and the mudroom and rethinking all these different spaces in her home. Now her kids and her husband are saying, I want to do that too. Can Mandy come and do my office? When the husband first had me there, he was like, this is all your plan. I'm not taking part in this, right? And now he's saying, right? So my advice, I mean, maybe in a situation like what Vicki said, if you're really, you are concerned about a family member with a hoarding problem or something, then that is where I would refer them to a hoarding specialist to talk about the way to tackle that, because that's kind of a different ball of wax. But if you're talking about living in a home with someone who's disorganized, start with yourself. And because modeling that behavior is much more effective than telling them that they're wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't work. They know they like to be told they're wrong, or that their way is not working, or that, you know, clean that over. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
It hurts. I mean, it hurts even if, you know, you have good intentions. So yeah, I like that idea. You know, I've shared the same advice with people. I say that, and then I say, let them see the commercial. Your commercial, and then they see it and they go, you know, it can be contagious. Organizing can be contagious. And I guess if the question might be posed towards like someone that's living far away, sometimes we get that question a lot. In my company, people call me and say, I live in Denver, my mom lives in Pittsburgh, she needs help. What can you do from afar? We certainly would then direct our energy towards the client and say, you know, she is our client, but you can be in a family meeting. And so we do, if the client is willing, because we get the calls about the gift cards for Mother's Day, and I'm like, does she know that you're calling? And they're like, well, I mean, my sisters and I are like, does she know? Because I was a gift when I started out 2003. I remember I was a Christmas present. Showed up at the door, ding dong, had my little polo shirt on and my jeans and my little basket. And I was not well received. And he was like, look, honey, look what I got you. Merry Christmas. And she's like, no. And she ran upstairs and I'm like, did you happen to tell her that you were going to hire a professional organizer? And she ended up hiring me on her own. She didn't speak to him for about a month, but she did hire me on her own, and we became very, very close. But long story short is, if you're gonna do it for someone to get their buy-in, get their engagement, if you need help with that engagement, there's resources online. I certainly, wrote a book about how to engage, but my big thing to me is if you can be transparent in communication and work as a team, then it isn't the white elephant in the room anymore. And you can just kind of name it for what it is. We're Vicky and I are really big into collaborative therapy. So if there's a way that a therapist can get involved, we like to work with therapists and work on a plan with the client, with the therapist, with us. And that way it's all transparent. We can get goals written down for us. We can follow the goals. As the person that's in the house, because what happens is therapists don't go to the house. They're on the phone or you go to their office, but we're the ones doing the work. So we're happy, just like a home stager would tell me how to stage a house, a realtor might say, Joe, I need you to do X, Y, and Z to get the house ready for sale. Well, we're gonna do the same thing with a therapist. The therapist says, we need to do baby steps. So I just need you to, can you just work on her papers with her in this manner, and these are the phrases that we've been working on that work. Great, I can do that. So it's kind of an open-ended question, and another perspective might be the authority thing, or with
Plan. Okay, sorry.
How did you read my mind?
The only thing that I wanted to add to that, that's all, it's really good, Joe, is that remember that there is a lot of emotion that comes with organizing, and everybody has an organizational style. And one thing with the professionals is that we recognize what those different organizational styles are. And you want to make sure that you want to be able to support that family member, and having even consulting a professional organizer on how to go about it, or lead me through how to help would benefit you tremendously, just because we would be able to guide you along the way and help you to understand, because what you don't want to do, we don't bring our organizational style onto any of you. We listen and we recognize an organizational style, and then we adapt techniques and things to help people get organized to meet a goal, and determine what that is, so that it's very well received. And I will again emphasize that you do not want to buy a professional organizer gift unless you have discussed with the person. That person has said to you, boy, but I love to have some organizing help or time, or but I love to be able to get a professional organizer to come in here and help me. So to be able to do that, that's what you want to listen for, or you at least want to have the conversation, like, what do you think about that? What if I gifted you something? You want to make sure that that's acceptable, because you don't want to offend people. You don't want to make someone feel like you're a sloppy mess and you need help. Here's someone to help you. You know what I mean? Hello, my name is Lynn. So.
As a coach, I have a slightly different perspective on things, and that is sometimes we have to find out why the individual is disorganized. I've had clients who have had the opposite of OCD that your mother has, whereas they use certain items and then never can use them again, yet they don't throw them away. So they're stockpiling things and it's just building up. I've had clients who have ADHD, and so that affects their executive functioning, and they might not be organized, or they might not have time management skills to complete a task. So it really, to help them, we have to kind of understand what is behind it. Is it grief and loss? Is it ADHD? Is it OCD? Is it depression? So that also helps for us to customize a solution for the way that their brain works.
So if you were helping a client with ADHD, where did you get those skills? That seems like a skill of
You need education.
psychologically advanced.
Lots of education. ICD is the best one, Institute for Challenge and Disorganization.
For brain
There are
based.
courses for
Brain-based,
brain-based
yeah.
education.
My
So-
coaching credentials have taught me life coaching, ADHD coaching, brain-based coaching. And then there's a magazine called Attitude, and they have a lot of workshops. So I've been taking a lot of workshops through them too. As a matter of fact, Susan Lieber is going to be our next speaker next week, and she's going to be talking about ADHD.
She's our organizer in the Pittsburgh area.
She's an ADHD and productivity coach.
So you have separate training, as a coach.
Yes.
Yeah, where, and
I was gonna add to it too.
yeah, I was just gonna say, there are so many different specialties in professional organizing as well. I started off in this thinking that I really wanted to work with that population. I haven't completed that education though, right? So it's part of our ethics policy of NAPO. I'm not gonna take on a hoarding client or an ADHD client. I will have them contact me and I have passed them on to colleagues of mine that have achieved, that have learned that. And I don't know yet if I'm going to want to take education to do that, but you can do real harm stepping in,
Right.
trying to help people that you don't actually have the training for. So I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, I was just gonna add about ICD. NAPO has courses, of course, on this, and ICD, which is the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. It's a nonprofit organization which is purely about education for professional organizers, from working with somebody with hoarding disorder to working with someone with ADHD, you know, all these different situations. And people who teach it are either professional organizers or we've had many PhD level people who do a lot of research. There's a ton of research going on in the world of organizing, tons of it. And they receive a lot of grants to do a lot of the research. Our next class, we just had two. They were TikTok coaches, ADHD. They had ADHD and they were psychologists. And, you know, that helps too. I have a brother with ADHD and whoa, does he have ADHD? You know, he was that kid who he's almost 59. And, you know, he was the kid who was just like, you're lazy, stupid, you know, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, finally he got diagnosed, but he still is struggling and he has struggled his entire life. We had a conference on ICD and Dr. One of the godfathers of ADHD.
Totally Frost?
No, ADHD. It was
Oh.
Dr. Russell Barkley.
Oh, right.
He said ADHD is becoming one of the worst endemic illnesses of everything because it affects your heart. It affects, of course, your brain. It affects your executive functions. You know, there's a malfunction in there, and that's why you need something to fix that. So, you know, there's a lot of these things, like you just said, just to go in and say, hey, I can just do this, you know, and you must be like Jim Carrey. My brother is like Jim Carrey, by the way. I know he's on his meds, but, you know, I mean, it's, you know, it's not a funny thing. I mean, it can be because they can make fun of themselves. And a lot of people do love ADHD. My brother does all the time about himself. ADHD people know are extremely creative usually. They could take this paper and make it into 12 things easily. So, but yeah, getting the education is probably the biggest thing with ADHD, hoarding, any kind of challenging brain-based condition is important to do. Through NAPO, through ICD, any of these organizations.
I think it's important to understand that you don't have to know it all when you begin. And I think what we're talking about, you know, for years I didn't even look at, you know, people with hoarding disorder because I wasn't ready to embark on that journey. And now I ended up now at, you know, almost 20 years later, yeah, I published a book on how to get help for it. And that's the idea, is they come to you for the help. And if you can't give it, you can help them find it. And that's what it's about, is being, a lot of times we are like social workers, we are like resource givers, and we are like resource sharers, because they're coming to us through NAPO, they see us, you know, online or on Instagram or whatever, and we get a lot of calls, or I know Vicky does too, about, hey, I have a mom, I have a sister, I have my dad's really struggling with the loss of my mom, and this garage is just full of stuff, and yeah, okay. It sounds a little heavy for me. I know 3 people that I can refer to you that might be able to help you. They have more training in this. And that's really the the beauty of, you know, kind of our chapter and our membership is because, like, I know what everyone specializes in. And like, I know one of the things you do is grief work, and I don't. So I know where to send, you know, that person.
And she
So-
does photo organizing, and I don't. So I would send somebody to her for that.
Do we have another, do you want to add anything?
I want to add one thing, and I don't really need the mic, most likely, unless Zoom people need to know. But not all of our clients have brain-based conditions either. Some of them just need help with space planning, like Lynn said. Maybe they want to convert a room that used to be for storage into a bedroom, or vice versa, a bedroom into a craft room. So, I mean, there's a lot of different clientele that we deal with. Okay, utilizing your mood managers, you know?
Yeah, they're situational
Yeah.
disorganization.
Had a baby. And then a lot of times, life situations, like you mentioned that, you know, you've had some things going on. Sometimes we can be organized in one aspect of our life or one season of our life, and then life transitions happen and our systems fail. And so sometimes we just need a little help getting back on track. I hope that gives you some help.
Yeah, another question on Zoom?
Yeah, so we actually have two really similar questions. So with downsizing, how can people kind of decide or let go of those sentimental attachments and decide what to keep or like what to make space for? And then for the things they can't keep, where to sell, donate, what's the best way to deal with getting rid of those items?
Okay, I'll answer a little bit of it. I worked a long time in the downsizing and moving world, hence my book, Don't Toss My Memories in the Trash, because that's what it's really about. And sentimental is, I think, for me, with clients I work with, it's sentimental and paper are the two hardest things for many people, because paper is overwhelming. It's like a sea of manila folder, a sea of white paper, and you're just like drowning in it. And what do I do? And sentimental, I mean, that's part of your life. That's part of your journey. And, you know, how can I possibly let go of this? But one thing I usually say to clients, and I'm going to let Joyce, because she's very active now in it too, is, you know, I'm sure your mom, let's say you have some of the things from your mom and she has passed away and you can't let go of any of them. I always say, do you think your mom really would want you to become a curator of a museum dedicated to her stuff? My guess is probably not. And it's okay. You can quit that job of being a curator. You can maybe let go of some of the stuff. And it's a process. Organizing is a process and a journey. Nothing happens overnight. The TV shows, they can help people, but that's called Hollywood and the magic of a camera. And same with the magazines. And I've been on it. Jill's been on it. Dorothy's been on it. We know. Cut, you know, so it's not real. It's not real. You know, real is going through somebody's sentimental things and trying to let go of it. And it's hard. It's very hard, but you can do it. But you don't have to be the curator of all this stuff. You can let go of it. You can give up that job. And the person whose stuff it was is probably going to be okay with that. If it's your stuff, then it's also, I like to say, you know, think about, you know, where you are in your life, what place you're going to. I always like to say, keep the best of the best. So if you have a bunch of things from, let's just make a country up here. How about England? And you have a lot of things because you traveled in England, you have all these souvenirs. Well, maybe there's 40 of them, 50 of them, but maybe you could just whittle it down to keep the best of the best. So that's some things to think about, but I'll have Jill do this question. I don't know why I want to walk around. Because you guys are here and I'm thinking I can walk in front of you maybe.
Well, one of the things I like to do is an exercise called You Have 15 Minutes. And we do this exercise, I teach it in my workshops too. I make everybody grab a pen and I go, you have 15 minutes to get your favorite things out of the house. And they're like, okay, we usually end up with photos, medicine, money, computers, art, grandma's story. Okay. And this is providing that loved ones are safe. And I hear all the jokes, like, do I have to bring my spouse? Yeah. So do I have to bring my mother-in-law? Yes. That kind of stuff. So hours and I have a van. What would you like now? And now we've gotten that circle to be beyond just the priorities. And then we talk about all those things that you may want to bring in the van. And I say, I don't know where you're going, but I think it might be a lot better somewhere. And they're like, oh. And then they start really thinking about that downsizing process. If they had to live in a smaller place, what would it look like? And then they kind of start decorating it with the furniture that's inside their house. And I say, just kidding. You now have 24 hours in a box truck and 2 guys, and they're going to help you get everything, but it has to fit in the 20-foot box truck. It's not an 18-wheeler. And they're like, okay, but it got them thinking. It was 15 minutes, 3 hours, and then 24 hours, and the size of the vehicle, what they could take with them. And now what they've created is their list of really important things. We do that exercise. The other exercise we do is a home inventory, where we actually go room by room and actually start listing. And they're like, well, I don't want to write all this stuff. This stuff isn't that important. And I'm like, oh, it's not that important. And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just start with the 10 most expensive things. And then we're back in my game, right? But it can be fun, by the way. It doesn't have to be, doldrum. So those are the 2 kind of exercises that I do to bring up kind of the boiling point, I guess, of the most important things. But one of the techniques that we do when we are making decisions is I have my clients take pictures of their things. For instance, that blue chair right there might have been made by your grandfather. And it's special, but it's not going to fit. And frankly, the leg has been glued on 7 times, but your grandfather made it, so you have to keep it. I hear that a lot. The attachment, it's real. So what I do is I ask you to get a notebook, a simple notebook from wherever. It doesn't have to be a big production, and I ask you to write down your thoughts about that chair. Tell me about your grandfather, because that's what that chair is really about. And go and take a picture of it, and then that ends up becoming on Shutterfly or Snapfish, it ends up becoming a really cool picture book of your memories, and you get to talk about that. And I'm actually doing that right now with my own life. I want my kids to throw away my toothbrush and then just put me in the grave. That's what I want. I do not want them to worry about my stuff. So I have, and I know Lynn, we've minimized quite a bit, but I am minimizing so much of my memorabilia that it's become a really cool thing for me. And I'm photographing everything after I whittle it down. And I've made decade by decade book of my life, so the first 10 years, whatever. And that to me has been more meaningful to downsize those attachments. And talking about stuff is extremely important. It is very powerful to tell the story of the blue chair.
I want to emphasize that we don't make people get rid of anything that they don't want to get rid of. But what we do help you with is decision making and whether or not this is going to be beneficial to you and your future. The other thing is we have all the resources, the donation centers, the recycling centers, the auction people, free cycle websites. So you can Google that stuff, but you can also call one of us if you're stuck and need to find out, how do I get rid of my old TV that doesn't work anymore? We have all those resources.
And some of those people are on NAPO Pittsburgh's website. They're actually members, our partners that do that.
So I just want to add a couple other things too, because I've been on a journey towards minimalism for the past decade, and I've been through a lot of trauma in my past and a lot of, losing of things and downsizing year after year after year. I've moved 9 times and wasn't always my choice to do so. But I took it upon myself as a professional organizer to learn a little bit about this process and to help to understand from my own experiences how to help other people let go and how to let other people, find out what's really, really important in life, And a lot of it is just, it's education, it's understanding, it's a resource, it's let me help you think about it. Is that the way you said it, Jill? You said we give you a way to, or was that you, Dorothy? We said, like, we give you something to think about, what is the goal? Yeah, help you with decision making. That's a lot, what we will do. And being a minimalist myself, I kind of bring that perspective in my organizing to helping other people. Is everybody doesn't have to be a minimalist, and I'm not about everybody getting rid of everything they have. It's just about how do you choose the things that you want to keep, and being very intentional about the things that you have and why you keep them. What do you need and what do you want? And then talking about, the important things in life, relationships and the story, the testimonies and everything like that that are really important. So these are just some of the things that the different types of organizers, as you venture out and try to decide what do I want to help people with. We've all, I don't think we thought about it day one when we started organizing exactly what we want to do. You gain experience and you find a passion for something more specific, and you start to get education and learn and start helping other people. And then you evolve to a chapter that has other people that we can refer. Say, I know someone, or what do you think? Or we collaborate together, we learn from each other, which is really important.
And I have to say, Lynn did a presentation for us on minimalism a few months ago, and talk about motivation. Just hearing her presentation motivated me to clean out my closet, which was contagious because then my husband asked for my help in cleaning out his closet. So motivate yourself by maybe watching something on YouTube or something on HGTV on how to clean or declutter, and you never know, it might motivate you.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, I downsized 2.5 years ago from a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath home here in McAllen, about 5 minutes from here actually, to a house, 1-story home, not a patio home, but a regular 1-story home in Jackson Township in Butler County. And I thought, I'm organized, this is gonna be easy. No, it was not. It was not easy at all. And there were some things that, oh my God, this is easy. I don't want that, I want that. And my husband, I have a Mickey Mouse rotary phone that I got from my sister when we got married. I'll be married 40 years in August. And my husband was just like, get rid of that dumb thing. You've been hauling that around. We used to live in Idaho. We moved here, we moved a few times. He's like, why are you keeping that? And I said, because I want to. It makes me happy. So it's sitting in my office. It's on a shelf and I love it. I like looking at
At
Mickey.
least it's not in a box.
No,
Okay, that way
Mickey's
it's
not-
not-
Mickey is not in a box. Mickey's up and Mickey makes me happy to see. So, but yeah, it's not easy to do. I did it myself. I mean, I've moved a lot, but that was, like, it's the longest place I've ever lived in my entire life. So 24 years, it was a hard thing to do. So,
Are there
Okay.
specific local places you would suggest for people to donate to? Like specifically, like, I don't know.
well, you can certainly go NAPO Pittsburgh. There are some things already in their resources, but the thing about the charities, you have to remember, they can't take everything under the sun, and you do not want to give them things that are really in bad shape, because you know what? They have to pay to get rid of them. The Goodwill spends a lot of money on things they have to get rid of.
Most charitable organizations will have a wish list,
Yes.
or we accept this, we don't accept that on their website. So if you can look up their website, a good example is the Humane Society in Beaver County, which is where I'm from. They have a list of all the things that they would like you to donate if you can, and they may have a list of some things that they won't accept. Same thing with the Women's Shelter in Beaver County. I know there's certain things I can take to them, and there's certain things that they don't want. Goodwill is the same way. There's St. Vincent de Paul. There's the vets, 1-800 pickup please. If you go on their website,
You'll find out for sure what you can and cannot do. The same with recycling. Start with your own municipality and see what they have, and then branch out from there. Maybe look at the county. Guardian Storage was one of our business partners for a long time. And about, I'd say like 3 times a year, maybe they'll have recycling or paper shredding, or for those things in community papers.
Or call your local library, because we keep.
There you go.
Yeah, call your local library. There are a ton of resources. And like George said, like you said, if you go on websites, they will tell you what they need. I mean, we use everything from off the floor Pittsburgh for mattresses and furniture and beds, delivery to, Restore, yeah, Brothers Brother, Global Links, by the way, is one of my favorites because they make drop off super easy for us. I have a van that I honestly, every 2 weeks, I feel like I'm giving, like shower chairs, walkers, wheelchairs that are in great shape. And then they distribute them to those in need. Brothers Brother, I think, does similar work, with many other things, but just again, go on the website, and if you're not sure, call. Someone will answer, someone will get back to you. They may not be manned 24/7, but if you call, someone will say, oh, please don't drop off that. We're overloaded with that, but we could really use this. So, I mean, the library's got lots of resources too, honestly, they do.
I want to put in a personal plug about mattresses and box springs. Please do not sit them out for your local trash pickup. They need to be wrapped in plastic or they won't be picked up. And sometimes you have to call your garbage pickup and ask for a special pickup for those.
I was gonna say, I used to work at North Hills Community Outreach, and, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I'm gonna have this stuff, like, you can have it. But, you know, you have to remember, a lot of these charities, it's like, especially like North Hills Community Outreach, they do not have the space. They might have a family who just went through a fire, and they'll put something out. Hey, we need twin beds, and we need this, and we need that. And then they have their volunteers, which is a lot of charities have volunteers. So you have to remember that not everybody, or the museums, I've been able to donate some things to Heinz History Center and to the Cathedral of Learning. However, you cannot just pull up again. It has to go through a process, a big, long process. In the Steel Museum in Homestead, same thing. It's not something that just happens overnight. So it changes. That's the other thing to remember. So the library definitely is a good resource, but you know, it changes all the time, different things that they can and cannot take. And some get better, like Goodwill has a great relationship with the computers, taking the computer, restoring, and then going on, I can't remember the high-tech thing that does the recycling. E-Loop? Yeah, E-Loop, but there's another one in like on the south side, they take the stuff and they recycle it.
Oh, Goodwill does.
Goodwill does an amazing job. Yeah, kilobyte.
That's from Goodwill on the south side.
Yeah, through Goodwill. So, I mean, they do a lot of things. You can, you know, but you have to find out, you know, you have to go to the website. I mean, you can find out, but call them because things do change. A lot of them are volunteer based too, for their extra employees, their employees are volunteers. So there's one here, Spark of Hope at the church, St. Sebastian's. That's all volunteer based out of their church, and they take furniture down to the north side. But you know, volunteers, so you can't always expect them to be there Johnny on the spot. So, another question? Zoom or audience? No, we have some questions here we could ask. We kind of have that question. Let me see what else we have. Okay, here's a good one. What would you recommend for someone who keeps a lot of papers from their, you know, let's say their receipts, their UK light bill from 1974, their, you know, I had a client like that. Kept it in great order too. But, you know, but all tax, you know, all these things, everything, any kind of notes, all kinds of papers. So who would like that? No, we don't.
Yeah, the other idea I had was, you know, if the Zoom audience isn't, you know, wanting to, we're doing like questions and stuff, but we can end up a little early and then ask individual questions if they want, if they're more comfortable talking to us individually. Stick around a little bit, but that might be, I would think, maybe the last question. That's okay. Paper is, God, it's different for everybody because you have a tactile learner, you have an auditory learner, you have a visual learner, and sometimes you have all three. Sometimes you have ADHD or ADD. Sometimes you have people that absolutely need the visual reminder, the cues, the physical cues of the paper. So there are so many tools to organize paper, but the best tool is your own brain. And that is to determine, again, active versus passive information. So active is all the stuff that you have to do now, like get back to meditation or pay a bill or you get a piece of mail that causes you to make a phone call, whatever that is. I don't know what it is, but it could be anything. And then what the passive information are things like your taxes, your insurance, policy that came, the big thick packet from your homeowner's insurance. Maybe it's your year end, financial statements, things that are passive, things that you need to keep, like stock certificates and those types of things. I personally have no stock certificates, but I see stock certificates, they're very pretty. But I think they're very nice looking. But like titles to vehicles, I'm talking about your vital records that you don't need to be having in front of you all the time. Those probably should be your passive information. And the active information is stuff that I feel, ends up in the piles on the dining room table. It just does. And so one of the things I do is I categorize, because that helps our brain, because we do think alphabetically and we think categorically. We just do. And no matter what is going on, we tend to think that way, even if the categories are different from your categories, we have our own. And we have different names for them. And so I just get something called Appendix File Smart. I literally help, I do this with my own fiance, so glad this isn't being recorded, maybe it is. But his papers are all over the place. So one day, I've been at home with, I just had a concussion about a month ago, so I had to stay home and I got bored. I organized the basement again, and I organized his papers, and he was like, "Where's all my stuff?" I said, "Don't you worry, honey. We're getting married next weekend." So I feel like I was starting to muscle up a little bit. And I said, "I have categorized everything for you the way you think," because I know him, and he literally goes to the Pentecost House Farm and pulls out his taxes. He pulls out his medical stuff. And he puts it back now. And I'm like, what just happened? Because it is a home. Yeah. And he doesn't like the mess either. But he was doing, how you take papers and you go one way, and then you go the other, and then you go the other, and so they can stay separate. I brought him a pack of filing folders, and he was like, I just needed a home from you. I'm like, that's all you needed, honey. You just needed a home. And now they have a home, and now they're inside the Pentecost House Smart. Now we can just take this whole thing, if somebody comes over, and just lift it up and put it over here. Or hide it under the couch. I don't care what you do with it. But it really does help, these little tools. And he wasn't upset or anything, because I didn't throw anything away. I wouldn't dare. But I set it up the way I know he thinks. But if he was my client, I would not have done that without or input, but I was bored. So
You gotta have a process. And so many of my clients I've learned through experience do not have a process when the papers come in the house. So my process is I work from home. I normally pick up the mail. I bring the mail in. I go through the mail and I separate it for who it belongs to. And then I deal with my own paper. And everybody else who gets mail at my house has to deal with their paper. Now, my husband and I have very different ways of processing our paper. And he does not care to be taught by me how he should do it. He has his own method. And if it works for him, fine. He has a very abnormal filing system.
that I have never tried to correct because it works for him. But it does help to have a process. He has his own process and his own method. And a lot of my clients don't, and they need to be taught how to do that. I was not taught how, I was not born knowing how to do a filing system. I had to learn that as I went through my clerical years and then through my corporate years. I learned how to do all that, and now I can teach other people.
Now, my easy quick tip is literally to process it as it comes in. I have a recycle bin, so I pop open the envelope, drop the envelope in there, the flyer is inside the bill, and then I have an inbox where the paper comes. And I do this thing for the things that are truly active, right? So these are the bills that have to be paid on top, and then I know the kid has a form that needs to be turned in here, and then this is the permission slip that has to be signed, and this is the, but it's kept very little. And then I have archive files in one box, and I have active medical files and things in another box. Just process it as it comes in the door. I have clients that it just heaps, but in my home, I can't stand the heaps, so process it as it comes in.
This is my last thing as a minimalist, is to deal with all the paper. And I'm taking care of all the active stuff. I've gone from a four drawer filing cabinet down to a box file. Just like a banker box file, which has all business and personal in that. That's how well I've been able to get it down. Now, I do have some other things that need to be purged, but what I decided I'm going to do is just scanning is what I'm going to do. And I can put it on the computer and file because my computer is so well organized with all my little folders and everything like that. So I think the biggest thing, every organizer you talk to will give you a different idea or a different method or our favorite. But the biggest point is to get in touch with an organizer because, just even doing a consultation, for an hour just to talk about, I need help with paper. What could you suggest? And then we get to know you in that, that interview process or that assessment. Because Jill was able to do what she did. Granted, it's her fiance, but the idea was that she got to know him. She got to observe her. She didn't really have to ask questions because she just got to observe. The professional organizer will come and ask questions. And we know what the questions are to ask so that we can evaluate and then determine what would be a good system for you. But everything they said, with having a process, taking care of it right away is very, very important. And that's something that any organizer for the most part can help you with.
I have a question along those lines. So if you go into a client's home and they say, I have this pantry in my kitchen and I want it to be organized, and there's no ADHD, there's no nothing, it's straightforward. I just can't keep this organized. How does that look? What do you do? How would your day go then?
I just want to add one thing on paper organizing, whether it's digital, paper, label is a good thing, and label what resonates with you. My brother, he has a file called stuff someone will need if I die. That would be, like insurance stuff. He doesn't with insurance. He doesn't know. It doesn't resonate with him.
I call that a legacy binder.
Right. So
So we have
think about-
different labels for it.
Absolutely.
One other thing is you can eliminate a lot of that paper that comes in too, like old catalogs, magazines. Even now when you shop, they ask you, do you want your receipt mailed to you or do you want to print it out? If you have trouble not throwing receipts away, maybe go digital with your receipts.
So to answer your question, typically for me, as what I do in my business is I always do an assessment first. Sometimes it's just a phone call, just to talk through, introduce myself, and then reach out via an email or maybe someone referred them to me and reach out to maybe an initial phone call or maybe an email or something where I introduce and I either meet with them or I talk with them and assess what are your goals? What are we doing? Okay, I have a pantry. Are you trying to purge it? Are you trying to downsize it? Are you trying to just organize it better? Do you need, better containers or storage systems? What are you looking for? What's your goal? So I usually go after the goal. What's the goal here? So that I know how I'm applying my skills. Because your goal may not be to purge everything out of here. You just want better organizational system, or everything's just shoved in here. How do I go about sorting it and purging it and assigning a home to everything and picking the right containers and stuff like that. So it's just kind of that type of process where I establish and I assess, determine what the goals are, and outline a process for them and how we're going to go about doing them. And I go one step further for myself because some people want me just to consult them on how to do it. I just want to pick your brain and I just want you to kind of tell them how to do it. Fine, that's the goal. Another goal may be, I need you to help get me jump started because maybe I need some motivation and to get things going, and just kind of need you for maybe an hour or so, and then I want to finish it. I have other people who I just need you to come in and do it. I don't have time to do it. Here's the goal. Let's do our assessment. Have at it. I'll see you later. You know, I've had all types. I guess you all have the same.
Yeah. Do people work with you? Like
Some
work
people-
alongside or it's like?
Me,
yeah,
I always work with somebody.
Yeah, so it just depends on what, for me, it just depends on what they want. That's why I always assess a job first. Because, and like I said, it can either be in person, or on the phone, but it just depends on what they want. It makes me determine whether I need to see it in person. Because there are jobs I don't take. I don't take them. I'm like, I know someone who can call her name's Vicky. I know someone who can call her name's Jill. You know what I mean? Like, that would be, you know, or call Susan. She, like, I determine what I can help somebody with and what I can't help somebody with, because I know what my skill level is and I know what I'm capable of doing. And I have enough confidence because I know the people in this organization. I know a lot of the organizers in Pittsburgh. I feel very confident in referring somebody to somebody else. You know, I can't handle it, or this is something else special. You know, and so I think everybody here would say that they do some type of an assessment to make sure that I'm the right organizer for you. You know, not necessarily that you're the right client for me, and I'm the right organizer for you to help you with your goal. You know,
It's about them, not about you.
Right.
The only thing I'm gonna add to that is we always do the assessment. I do like to work side by side because even though, you know, I may think, you know, this would look better here, or that would look better there, you know, it's all about what the client's gonna do once I'm gone, you know, and that's gonna be used pantry. So I do a lot of product sourcing as well. So if I am gonna do a pantry, I ask them, do you like metal, do you like wood, do you like sustainable products, too much plastic? What do you want this to look like? Show me a picture. They'll pull up Pinterest, or they'll pull up TikTok, or they'll pull up something. And they go, this is what I want. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're looking at in terms of product. This is what we're looking at in terms of time, depending on your decision speed. I'm gonna be here 6 hours, 2 people, if it's a walk-in pantry, you know, these are things I can do now at my age, you know, but, you know, it really does get down to, are Mandy and I gonna do this together with you, or are you just, like, you know, I call them kind of hand wavers, you know, just do it, and then I'll see it 2 o'clock, you know, I gotta go to my home office, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw away used, or, you know, expired foods, I'm gonna do this, and determining those
yeah, the
goals.
goals. Like if you have the goals, because, you know, I can't just go in and like, okay, I'll organize it, see you later. I need to know, I need to ask questions, I need to know like what.
Transfer of skills.
Yeah.
Is what you want, and you can do that virtually or on site. That's a big thing. So the client, the backsliding, and they learn, oh, okay, maybe I should put all the cans together because I never thought of that, which, yeah, maybe they didn't, right? Things like that.
Did that answer your question?
Dorothy's got-
I did.
Oh,
And to answer your question more literally, I pull everything out, put it into categories, and then the client and I, based on how she functions or he functions, we decide how to put it back in there. Like, what do you use least? What do you use most? What do you need easy access to? So I have an 8-step process that I work people through, and I even give them a list of the 8 steps and see if they can do it on their own with another smaller project.
Do you ever feel like you have trouble putting your personal opinions aside when you're working with people. No, because it's just like, whatever you want is good, I'll do it your way. Even though you're
You need to remember, you're gonna run into lots of different things, from porn, drugs, guns, all kinds of things, you know, so you have to think about, you know, maybe I'm never gonna work with somebody who has guns. Maybe you won't.
Well, I mean, like,
Yeah.
from a point of view of like,
Oh, you mean you
Yeah.
disorganized?
yeah, just,
Yeah.
you
Well, you know
know,
what,
like you know, because you're a professional, you know how to organize, but I'm the client and I'm saying, but I don't want to do it that way. Because that's,
Well,
so,
not bad. I
so,
mean,
okay, so
But
even
you
though
can
if
still
you-
suggest.
if you
Yeah.
come into my house and I say something that's like really crazy, like, I don't know, I can't think of something, but you know there's a better way. You'll say, there's a better way,
Well,
but
it
you don't
depends
have
on,
to do it.
it really depends on your questions. It really gonna depend, because I didn't just bring myself into your home and say, hey, I'm here to, what do you wanna do?
Right.
You obviously called me.
Right,
And, you know, I might walk into your house and think, like, I think I know exactly what she's gonna tell me, and then you tell me nothing about what I think you're gonna tell me. And then I walk into homes where I don't even know what they want me to do. This house looks spotless, like everything looks in order, you know? So once you have the assessment or the conversation and you start saying, this is what I'm having trouble with, this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for, this is some of my goals, blah, blah, blah. We as organizers can say, oh, I can help you. Like, because we already kind of know what the answers are going to be. And we're going to suggest things to you and work with you to help, you know, you to develop the right systems for you here. Because again, everybody has different organizational styles. You know what I mean? And we adapt to what you're doing. I remember as an interior designer, you know, I may like eclectic design, you know, but you may not. You might like, you know, very traditional. Well, it's not about me coming in and telling you traditional is not good and you got to go eclectic. That's not what it's about. It's about taking your traditional style and all the things that I learned about color and tones and planning and scale and everything. I apply all of those into what you want as a traditional interior design space. Okay.
Yeah.
So I make what you want work very well. That's very comfortable. I may hate traditional. I may hate it. Doesn't matter. That's not what I'm there to do. I'm not there to bring off my personal, you know, design. It's here to make what you like work very well. What you do.
And now I'm glad I understood your questions. The other one. Okay.
Yeah, the approach that I have learned though is that while I might have the best of intentions in doing things, I'm always reminding my clients that they don't live in a magazine,
Mhm.
right? So where maybe I would want to come in and empty out their pantry, I can see that it would be overwhelming for them to need to empty their pantry into their kitchen, and I can see all of their stuff everywhere. So I stood with the client and said, okay, what here is working? And sometimes the answer is absolutely nothing. There's nothing here the way I want it to be. But a lot of times they'll say, well, you know, this here is okay, but this over here is a mess. So then start, instead of emptying everything and making them do the process that I know is the best one, I have to work with where they are.
Okay, that was
Right.
my question.
So,
Yeah, that's
So
what
a
it was.
linen closet, right? I have a client who went through her linen closet and I want to teach her how to fold a fitted sheet, right? Because I know how to fold a fitted sheet and that will make it look really pretty, like you would find in a magazine. She cannot fold a fitted sheet. She doesn't want to know how to fold a fitted sheet. She will not fold a fitted sheet after I go home. So I said, split second decision, we're not folding these sheets. We're going to find, she has a lot, she's one of these wonderful ladies who owns a lot of organizing materials. She went out and bought them thinking it was going to make her organize. When it didn't work, she told herself she can't organize. And she felt down about herself for a long time. And then she hired someone to help her. So I went to her closet organizing gear and found matching clear bins. And we have a label with king size, a label with queen size, a label with twin, because she has lots of different bedrooms. We just are going to match up by color and put it all in there. We're not going to fold any of it. because she doesn't want to.
That's a
I
perfect
know,
example.
I know what's best.
Yes.
Right, but something my kids taught me from all the books I read before I had them is that they come out as little human beings that are gonna do things the way they wanna do them, right? I had to learn that from my elders, and I'm still learning it with my clients. I can't come in and impose on them what I know is the best way. My job is to come in with lots of different options and help them find the way that's gonna work for them, right? So in a pantry, I'll come in and say what works. And if it's too overwhelming to do it by the book, we'll say, okay, well, what here do you not like? What here is out of date? What here did you buy 3 years ago and you don't, and she starts pulling out artichokes or, other, things that she bought thinking that she wanted to use, and then work through the process that way. So is that really, to me, we have to meet them where
We
they
have
are.
questions on Zoom?
No, I was gonna say, if we want to wrap up, make sure there's a little time in case anyone wants some little
Do you have any
one-on-one
questions?
time.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you very much. And if you want to know more about any of the organizers here or in the Pittsburgh area, go to napopittsburgh.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.